Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
Hi guys, I'm Courtney.
And I'm Lisa.
And we are the hosts of The Book of the Dead, a true crime podcast based out of New Jersey, where we tell you about the most obscure cases that you may have never heard of. So join us in the Book of the Dead library for another chapter of the Book of the Dead wherever you get your podcasts. Bye guys.
On his way, devil is on his way, devil is on his way, motherfucker, the devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees, devil is on his way, fall to your knees, devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees, devil is on his way, motherfucker, he's on his way.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
I'm the birthday girl.
And Heather is old.
Yes, I'm embracing it.
So let me guess. Are you at the age where you're going to permanently be this age? Or are you going to keep adding to it?
I'm going to keep adding to it. Let's
Okay.
rack up some numbers here.
You know,
I'm in my Meemaw era, and I don't even have grandkids.
see, that's my philosophy. I'm like, I don't care. I can't wait. I want to be like, I'm trying to be 80. And so when I say something, people need to listen, right? Like my words have weight, the wisdom of age and experience, right?
This year, I'm only interested in growing some maters,
Okay.
wearing a muumuu,
Comfort.
a house coat or house dress, and that's about it.
Oh, so you are in your Meemaw age.
I'm in my Meemaw era.
Okay.
It's really sexy.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
I want to give a big shout out to Erin. She is our newest patron.
Hey, Aaron.
You are sponsoring today's episode, Erin.
Thank you so much for your sponsorship over at the Patreons. And we hope you enjoy the ad-free and extra content because there's a buttload of it.
We do appreciate folks who support us at patreon.com/Mountain Murders Podcast. You help keep the lights on here in the Mountain Murder Studio.
You do, and you make Heather's birthday a very special one.
Very special birthday, Dylan. So far, only 2 of you have wished me happy birthday.
Oh, only 2 of me?
Well, you and my son, only 2 people.
Well, that's the 2 people that matter.
You know why? Because I keep it LK, low key.
Oh, okay, you're not advertising.
Because Meemaw don't advertise. Okay, Meemaw's going to sit here on the porch, and if you want to come holler, you can. I'm going to judge everybody running up and down the road.
They must have a lot of money for gas.
Burning up them damn roads, Dylan. All right, are you ready to get into today's case? It is quite a mystery.
Yes, the little bit you told me about this story, it is a real head scratcher, and so let's just jump right into it.
We love a good Mountain Murders mystery, so let's get started. In 2008, 51-year-old Michael Hearon lived in Blount County, Tennessee. When I hear Blount County, I can't help but think yesterday was 420. They'd be smoking some blunts in Blount County.
Yes.
What?
I used to live near Blount County, and every time I saw that on signs and whatnot, I'm like, oh yeah, baby.
Light it up.
That's right.
Let's spark this doobie and get laced behind the barn.
Put something in the air.
After graduating from high school, Mike worked for the National Park Service, trimming trails in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Born and raised in the area, Mike loved the Smoky Mountains.
You know, it really is a beautiful part of the country. No matter where you get into the Appalachian Mountains along the range, if you will, up and down the East Coast, it's just a beautiful country, right? And I guess some people would say the Smoky Mountains, even more so. It's one of the most popular, if not the most popular, national park
It is
system.
the most visited national park at the moment.
Yeah,
It has been for the last few years.
Which is crazy, and certainly since the pandemic, the visitation has skyrocketed. And I would argue the quality of visitor has changed. You're seeing people leave more than footprints, but that's another story for another day, I reckon.
I recently discovered they've closed down several trails in the Great Smokies due to bears
So due to bear
activity. A lot of black bears in these mountains.
And you made a good point on that some people don't follow the rules. And, don't feed the wildlife is one of the number one rules whenever you're visiting their house.
Absolutely. When you are outdoors, there are plenty of signs, lots of signage in the park that will tell you do not feed the bears. You can't feed the bears.
And it's for the bears' good, but what it does is it desensitizes the bears to human contact. And it also they make a connection from when they see a human, they can maybe get some food.
Exactly.
Which means instead of...
They will approach you.
Right. Typically, wild animals will go away from you if you get near them. And then, I think many of us have seen these pigeon forage bears, these Gatlinburg bears that just kind of hang out on the street corner.
They want some fudge.
And those bears are huge. And people get within like 2 or 3 feet of them. And I just could never do it. I've seen people take their little kids and set them up there beside these 400 or 500 pound bears and take pictures.
Dylan, nobody said people were smart.
It's just,
that is a misconception that humans are smart.
It's natural selection, and we got to quit getting in the way of it.
I concur. Mike loved the Great Smoky Mountains, and you know what, Dylan? I love Great Smoky Mountains. I lived most of my life just on the edge of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, as well as the Blue Ridge Parkway.
And for the people who are not familiar with the Great Smoky Mountains, why do they call them the Great Smoky Mountains?
Well, let's get to that, Dylan. So the Great Smoky Mountains are evenly split between Tennessee and North Carolina, covering 520,000 acres. Known for their misty, smoky look, the Smokies are part of the larger Appalachian mountain range. The mist over the mountains is from plant emissions, mixing with air moisture.
Okay.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I did not know that.
Well, now you know that.
I kind of thought it was maybe, and I'm not even being funny, I thought it was maybe smog from the, larger areas around the mountains kind of drifting over the mountains.
Because they had smog in the 1800s.
Well, yeah. That doesn't make sense, does it?
Makes zero sense, Dylan, but I've come to expect nothing less from you.
Thank you for that.
And nothing more from you. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park is currently the most visited park in the United States. As you mentioned, Dylan, it is loved to death. They are among the oldest mountains in the world, about 200 to 300 million years old. The mountains feature over 800 hiking trails, including parts of the Appalachian Trail. You'll also find historic sites like old cabins, farms, churches, and mills from early Appalachian settlers. So I'm a 9th generation resident of this area. I've said that multiple times on the pod. You'll find my family name in many communities surrounding the park. And in fact, one of my ancestors is featured in a display at the Oconaluftee Visitor Center in Cherokee, North Carolina.
Oh, really?
So I'm very proud to call this area home. In this area, the Blue Ridge Parkway and the Smoky Mountains National Park intersect with private properties. Now, around 9:30 a.m. on Saturday, August 23rd of 2008, Mike Hearon called his son Andy. He told Andy that he was planning to leave his condo in Maryville, Tennessee. And I know it's Maryville because if I say Maryville, someone will come at me with a pitchfork.
Well, if you say Maryville, people know that you're not.
You ain't from her.
You ain't from here. It's kind of like Cherryville.
It's Maryville.
It's not Cherryville. It's Cherryville.
He also planned to stop by Andy's house to pick up a lawnmower and a trailer. And by the way, Andy is an adult. This is Mike's adult son.
You see these properties that are around the edge of the park and that butt up against it, if you will. And I've always been envious of having like a property like that, because these lands will, as far as we know, always be a national park. It's never going to change. And if you have a big, nice piece of property that butts right up against that, you have your own little paradise, really.
Some years ago, my friend was house sitting for this couple. They had a beautiful, like what you would consider a beautiful mountain home, beautiful view, like $1 million view. And they owned like hundreds of acres of mountaintop property. We had access to their ATV and we could go up to the very top of the mountain, but their property backed up against the national park.
Oh, wow.
And it was gorgeous, like just incredibly beautiful. And to own basically a mountaintop.
Yeah, I know.
And have access to these woods, and you're just a stone's throw away from the park. I mean, it's pretty cool.
You know, sometimes people, in my opinion, will go to extreme lengths to get that beautiful $1 million view you're describing, and just cut down like a ton of trees, which I kind of think is kind of a dick move. Like, you're living in the middle of this conserved or you're next to this conserved land, and to just like hack an acre or two of trees down so you can see better, it kind of seems counterintuitive to me. I don't think I would ever do something like that.
I understand. I was just thinking the drive to this property was so steep, you needed a 4-wheel drive to get to the top.
Oh, I could only imagine.
I often had to park my vehicle at the bottom and hitch a ride up in my friend's vehicle or on the ATV, because you couldn't even make it to the top in a car.
So you guys were having like ragers?
My little Honda would barely go up the mountain. Like, there was no way. So, yeah.
Y'all were having raging parties up there in these people's $1 million house?
Yeah, I guess if the two of us and my son hanging out, grilling and sitting on the porch is a rager.
That sounds awesome.
Actually, we both had kiddie pools that we bought, the little plastic round pools, and we would do what we called adult play dates. So we worked together. So in the afternoon when we would get off work, we would go to this house, because he house sat these people's house for like 6 months. We would fill up our pools, and we would make alcoholic, like root beer floats and stuff, and just sit in our kiddie pools.
Oh, and just sit and stare?
Yeah.
Sitting and looking?
Yes.
In your kiddie pool?
It was great.
With a drink?
We had so much fun.
Sounds awesome.
Such a fun guy. Now, he also planned to stop by Andy's house to pick up a lawnmower and a trailer. The family owned a 100-acre farm property in Happy Valley, Tennessee. Mike planned to take the mower over to the farm. Now, it is my understanding that Happy Valley is about 30 minutes, half hour from Maryville. Mike had previously left a voicemail for 25-year-old Matt, his other son, essentially like conveying the same message. Hey, I'm picking up this mower, going out to the farm, cut the grass, be there all weekend. Mike was known to visit the farm nearly every weekend, so this trip was nothing out of the ordinary. I'm very jealous. I wish I had a farm where I could spend my weekends.
Well, yeah, that sounds incredible.
Now, the mower was shared among the father and the two sons, sometimes used as part of their contracting work to clean up around buildings and houses they constructed. Andy and Mike passed this mower back and forth a lot. During the call with Andy, Mike said he wanted to go to the farm to cut down tall grass on a nearby 40-acre tract. Now, this parcel was owned by neighbors. They were missionaries who had been away for a while. Nice guy, offering to mow their yard, mow their property.
Well, yeah, and these are the type of people, they're basically tending the land. You know what I mean? They're doing what's best to help with wildfires, things like that, or to help, keep the weeds from overtaking your pasture grass. You want to keep it trimmed back. And I think we've all known people like this, or you may be people like this. They have this equipment. I'm sure it's a rather expensive mower. It's probably a very large mower. And they just leave it on a trailer, and whoever needs it goes and grabs it and, does all this different work with it.
Very nice.
Yeah, it must be nice.
Must be nice. Mike and Andy lived about a half an hour apart. At that moment, Andy wasn't at home. He told his dad that he was on his way back if Mike wanted to wait around, and Andy could help him load the mower. If Mike was in a hurry, he was welcome to load it himself. Andy drove down the road toward his home, and his dad passed him going the opposite direction. Mike was driving on Gateway Road with the mower loaded on a trailer, heading in a direction that showed he was taking the parkway over the mountain to Happy Valley. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Andy did not speak to his father again. Around 11 a.m., a neighbor saw Mike pulling into the driveway near Bell Branch Road. The man noticed Mike was hauling some kind of equipment on a trailer. Mike's property was at the end of the road, so he had to pass other farms and estates to get to his 100 acres. About half an hour later, two other neighbors saw Mike leave on an ATV, a four-wheeler. Mike waved at them as he rode into the woods. The day passed without any further contact from Mike. Matt and Andy didn't think much about it. They didn't speak with their dad multiple times a day. Also, cell phone reception could be, a little wonky out in this area.
Oh, I'm sure.
The three will meet at work on Monday. I'm unsure if Mike planned to return the mower on Sunday or Monday morning. But on Sunday around 2 p.m., Mike's mother, Alma, contacted Andy and Matt. Their grandmother was upset because she had not heard from her son Mike all weekend, which was unusual. Alma asked if they'd spoken to their father. Alma and Mike's dad lived just a short walk from the Bell Branch property in Happy Valley. Literally takes about 5 minutes to get from their home to their son's property. They went to their son's house Sunday morning, knocked, but no one answered. They didn't go inside, but they saw Mike's truck in the driveway with the trailer. The mower is still loaded on the trailer, appearing as if he's not taken the mower off the trailer at all.
Okay.
Now, at first, Andy and Matt aren't really concerned about this news. It didn't seem strange that Mike was unavailable. He kept dozens of chickens and about 40 head of cattle on the farm, so he did spend a lot of time outdoors, often working on various projects. When you've got animals, livestock, there's usually a lot of work that needs to be done.
Well, yeah, there's always something to do. Someone or some animal that needs checked on.
A fence that needs mending.
Yeah, he could be worried about, maybe some pregnant heifers. Or, who knows? Like you said, a fence that needs to be either checked or mended. Because you have a working farm like this, it is a lot of work, and it just never stops.
Happy Valley, like I mentioned, wasn't very cell phone friendly. Mike did install a landline in the house, but that wasn't very helpful if he was working outside, caring for livestock, or he was out in the woods. The men told their grandmother not to worry too much. Mike was probably just out working the property. He knew the area around his farm well since he was born and raised in Happy Valley. Again, his parents live just a stone's throw away from him.
Yeah, so he probably knows all these woods like the back of his hand.
Exactly. It wasn't like he would get lost in the woods, and they assured Alma that Mike would likely get in touch as soon as he made it back home. By Monday, Alma's maternal instincts were heightened. She could just sense that something terrible had happened because she had not heard from Mike all weekend, and he had not come home. Early Monday morning, Andy and Matt knew they needed to find Mike. Usually Mike stayed at the condo in Maryville during the week and spent the weekends at the farm. Matt drove to his dad's condo, but there was no sign of him. The condo didn't raise any red flags. It was tidy and in order, just how Mike usually kept it. The bed was made. Nothing seemed out of place. Matt checked the garage. Mike's truck was gone, which made sense since he had taken it out to Happy Valley. Mike owned a sporty Mercedes convertible, but it was still in the garage. Later, Matt and Andy met up and decided to drive to Happy Valley to check on Mike at the farmhouse. Alma had gone down to the house a second time. When she called her grandsons, she explained that Mike's four-wheeler was now parked in the front yard. The truck sat in the same spot it had been with the trailer and mower. So from the sounds of it, the four-wheeler's placement was odd, like maybe he had planned to park it there for just a few minutes before moving it.
It's probably somewhere he would never leave it, right? Because you have this nice stuff like this. You use it for work, not just fun. And even if it was just for fun, people typically take care of these types of items.
Absolutely.
They're always put away, usually covered in some,
garage,
pole barn,
shed,
just a roof, concrete pad, whatever it is to keep it out of the elements. And people typically have habits especially around a homestead like this. You'll never find. You usually find their stuff in the same place.
Like a carport.
You can almost count on it.
Yeah, exactly. When the men arrived, their father's truck was just as Alma described. They noticed the windows were down and all 4 doors were unlocked. Mike had left his cash, ID, keys, and cell phone on the truck's seat. Additionally, the brothers made another strange observation. Mike's truck was usually parked differently. You see, Mike allowed a school bus to park on his property during weekday mornings, and to make space for the bus, Mike had to park in a certain way. And he's not parked in this specific way.
So the bus can get in and out.
Right. They also saw this 4-wheeler in the yard. Mike had bought a brand new 4-wheeler, and this was the old one. That meant Mike was still using the new ATV. Matt worried that Mike was in the woods somewhere, hurt or injured, and that's why he had not made it back home.
Yeah, and I think that might be your first thought when you finally figure out that maybe something's not right or maybe something's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, alarm bells have to be ringing, right?
Well, yeah, that he knows the area very well, has, grown up there, and has probably been all over his chunk of land. I don't know when he came to acquire it or whatever, but so at this point you have to be thinking the only reason he hasn't returned, because certainly the state of his truck seems like he didn't intend on being gone long, right?
Well, yeah, most people do not leave the windows down on their vehicle for more than a few hours, especially not overnight or for several days. You can have inclement weather.
Yeah, because in the mountains, I mean, it happens everywhere, but especially in the mountains, you can't really always see a storm coming. And next thing you know, you don't. It's raining, and you don't expect it. A little shower, a little burst of rain, and there's all your valuables, which I'm sure he feels very safe here on his property. But still, just leaving it out in the open, all the windows down, your vehicle's exposed. It seems weird, right?
It does seem weird, and you mentioned the little bursts of rain, and that happens all the time in the mountains, especially where we lived. The weather would not mention at all anything about like a afternoon shower or storm, but you can pretty much guarantee, especially in the warmer months, that you're going to get a spring shower, a summer shower.
Yeah, it's almost like there's microclimates in the mountain regions that create their own weather in a weird way.
I know, it's kind of odd.
Yeah.
Because it can be raining like just down the road, but dry at your house.
Yeah,
I mean, how is it raining like 500 feet from here?
You'll have some areas that always will get the rain, and then other areas don't get it as often. I mean, you can almost count on it.
I feel like when I lived in Maggie Valley as a young person, you could expect to get rain like every day in the summer.
Yeah,
like without fail, you were going to get an afternoon shower.
Those evening thunderstorms. I worked outside for many years in this area, and on the North Carolina side, but it's all very similar. And when I was younger, lived on the Tennessee side, and yeah, you can watch these storms kind of just come up out of nothing, like sky's clear, and then you'll just see brewing in the distance, like just behind the mountains, just black clouds.
And it'll just be a little flash, like you might get 10, 15 minutes of rain, and then it stops, the sun comes back out.
Oh yeah,
and it's beautiful the rest of the day. I mean, it's very strange, but because of that, I would assume Mike would not leave the windows down.
Right.
By noon, the men had alerted relatives that Mike was missing. Mike and their mother had been divorced for like 6 or 7 years, but they called her. She lived in Maryville. She was concerned. I mean, despite the fact they're divorced, it seems like they still got along, or, amiable. She drove to Happy Valley to help her sons look for their father. Mike was healthy, but suffered from high blood pressure. His brother Jerry had the same idea as Matt, that Mike had suffered a medical emergency or had gotten injured in the woods. The old 4-wheeler had a flat tire. After Matt and Andy fixed it, they used it to survey the 140 acres. They drove trucks where possible. Mike had been caring for the neighbor's property while they were in the Philippines, those missionaries. That area was searched. Matt and Andy spent hours looking for their dad. Relatives drove to campgrounds around and inside the Great Smoky Mountains Park to search for Mike. When they couldn't find him, they decided it was time to call the police.
So they made a good go of it. They tried everything they knew to do. And now I'm sure at this point they're very worried.
This is scary.
Well, yeah. I mean, how could it not be?
Well, just the unknown. Anytime someone goes missing, it's very troubling for the family. But it's particularly scary when you're in this, like a landscape like this, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Rural, isolated.
It's the type of landscape.
Can be treacherous.
You could be within 50 feet of someone, and if they're incapacitated, knocked out, or something like that, and they don't hear you, you won't even know it, even if you're actively searching.
At first, the call connected to the Park Service, but eventually the Blount County Sheriff's Office arrived around 6 p.m., and by then it was getting dark. Soon, rain began pouring, and the rain made it hard to conduct a proper search or do much of anything. A search dog tried tracing Mike's scent from the house, but had no luck. And this rain can possibly be detrimental to the search.
Well, yeah, you're concerned if you're trying to track him by scent. And then a lot of these places, they're checking or trying to drive these vehicles, even side-by-sides or ATVs, up and down their old log roads or nothing more than a path. And they very quickly get muddy.
I'm also thinking of if Mike is driving an ATM.
Oh, my gosh.
He's driving an ATM, Dylan. Oh, my gosh, my brain. He is driving an ATV, likely leaving tracks.
Right.
But if the rain comes, that can wash away any trace of the tire tracks,
well, yeah.
footprints.
Yeah, if you see fresh tracks through the leaves up an old log road or something, that could give you a clue as to what direction he may have went. Rain never helps in a situation like this.
The next morning, the sheriff's office launched a search for Mike. Mike had last been seen wearing a red t-shirt, khaki cargo shorts, and Teva sandals. It does not sound like he is appropriately dressed to spend several overnights in the woods.
No, and it doesn't sound like he planned on being on foot.
Well, no, because, those sandals, although, comfy and sporty, are not comfortable for walking in the woods, hiking.
No.
They're not made for that.
No, that's something you would expect someone to wear, something like a 3/4 or tall boots, because when you get in the deep woods, the going's very tough. You got sticks and you got maybe
you want shoes with some tread,
2 or 3 feet of dead leaves, decomposing leaves. It's treacherous walking.
Exactly. So the sheriff's office used the media to appeal to the public for any information or to watch for Mike on his four-wheeler. Mike had several distinctive marks on his body, including a snake bite scar on his foot, a surgical scar on the back of a knee, and he had a tattoo on his lower back. He also had a scar on his abdomen from appendix surgery and caps on his teeth. These are all great ways to identify Mike.
He had a tattoo on his lower back.
Yeah.
What part of his lower back?
Just said lower back, Dylan.
Okay.
Look, maybe Mike was sporting a tramp stamp.
Maybe.
He was styling and profiling. Don't judge Mike.
I'm not judging Mike.
It could have been a really badass tattoo. I don't know. I don't have information for you.
Well, I think we should not call them tramp stamps. I think we should just call it a low back tattoo, like you're doing here in this story. And I don't.
No, I grew up in the 90s. We call them tramp stamps.
That's the only thing you can call them.
That's the only thing I'm going to call it. Yeah. I'm going to listen. I'm going to look at my tramp stamp in the mirror while I listen to Butterfly by Crazy Town.
Oh, wow.
Okay? That is how on the edge of being a millennial, xennial Gen Xer that I am.
That's a very 90s thing to do.
I know. Dylan, I don't have any tribal tattoos. I will say that. But I do have the butterflies.
I do have.
You have some
tribal tattoos left over from the 90s. I intend to get them covered up, but in this economy, 2026, what can I say?
getting off track here, and then we'll go back to our story. Speaking of tattoos, I feel like tattoo artists don't want to work. Like, if you I don't know what it is lately in the last, couple years, when you reach out to an artist and you're like, hey, I'm interested in getting a tattoo, back in the day, they would be like, oh, come by the shop, let's talk. I'll, let me draw you something up. What are you interested in? Come by, whatever. Half the time they don't get back to you. They want you to email them, pay a deposit online. They have very little communication with you.
They don't want to talk to you at all.
They don't ask, it's just very strange. Like, where do you want to get this tattoo? Can I see? They don't say, come by, let me see. I'm going to have to draw this, particularly for this specific body part.
Yeah.
If it is rounded or something, your calf or whatever. It's just very weird to me. It's like, do you not want to make money?
And they all seem to think, not all, many of them seem to think that even though they just seem like a regular tattoo artist, that they won't charge you like $300, $400, $500 an hour. And it's like, you need to calm down because I'm sorry, but your talent level is not, it's not up there for that. It's not worth that, if you will. And the same thing's
You're not like a world famous tattoo artist.
No. And you also don't move quick enough to give me a $500 hour's worth of work. You know what I'm saying? Because those two things, if you're that good, you also need to get some stuff done. You know what I mean? You can't just do a bunch of outlining. I need to see progress on this. And what you're describing happened to barbers, the same thing. It's like they don't even want to talk to you. Everybody has an app. And the prices are just, it's insane. I'm seeing barbers charging $75, $100 for a haircut, dude. It's like, calm down. You are not a celebrity barber. Everybody thinks they're a celebrity, whatever. Like they see
social media has ruined certain professions, or at least the people who are in those professions, because they really think they're hot shit. Like, because they have, followers on their account. I mean, I've seen it with, hair colorists, stylists, tattoo artists. What is that about?
It's crazy to me. It's like they'd rather have 10 people willing to pay $100 for a haircut than 50 people paying $40. I don't understand. I don't get it. But anyway.
Yeah, well, just finding a tattoo artist. Since we moved, I have had difficulty finding a tattoo artist because it'll be like, email me here. You email them, crickets.
So
never hear back.
When I was growing up, if you want a tattoo, you saw a tattoo shop, you went in there.
It'll be like by appointment only, So it's like you have to have an appointment to go. They're not open all the time, but they won't email you back.
It's very strange.
It's very strange. I don't understand. Maybe someone can explain it to me, because Mama needs some ink. I'm itching for a tattoo, Dylan.
Maybe one of our listeners is a badass tattoo artist.
I need an ice cream cone on my face, like Gucci Mane. Since Mike's family had delayed calling police for several days, combined with that bad weather, any evidence like tracks, footprints, was washed away. The sheriff's office and park service rescue crews began a foot search of the area. Matt and Andy participated in the effort along with many of the neighbors in Happy Valley. And I say that like there was 1,000 people that live there. This is a pretty rural area. It doesn't sound like there's a ton of people.
Right.
But the neighbors they had, the handful of neighbors or whatever, everybody kind of pitched in.
Yeah, everybody's going to mobilize. Many of them have equipment that will help. And they also know the area very well. So, I mean, you won't find a better type of community to quickly mobilize and search every nook and cranny of the area.
That's the thing when you are able to utilize local folks. They know the area. They know the terrain. It's not like bringing someone in from out of state who is unfamiliar with the mountains or the trails or where they might lead or, certain directions. Like, oh, this is going to take you to the park. This is going to take you this other place, whatever.
Well, it's like the old saying in the military, one one person fighting for their own land is worth 20 mercenaries. You know what I'm saying?
I understand what
You
you're
understand
saying.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you take one of
Well,
these.
yeah, you're a local. This is your neighbor. Your heart is invested in finding this man.
Well, yeah, and you don't need to be brought up to speed. You already know what the hell's going on. You know everything about the area and where you're going to be searching.
An elderly man in his 80s even volunteered to lead search teams. This man, his name is Grady Whitehead, had known Mike his entire life. His son had actually grown up with Mike. Grady also had the advantage of being a retired park ranger who knew the land very well. So he's a skilled tracker. He's conducted many of these missing, missing hikers, tracing people. So he knows what to do.
Oh, wow.
And though he's in his 80s, it sounds like he's pretty sharp and on point with, I know how to lead a search crew.
Well, yeah, a person like that, their experience in a situation like this would be invaluable.
Grady had actually been one of the last people to see Mike as he headed out on the four-wheeler Saturday. They had, kind of waved as Mike rode off into the woods. Nearly 500 acres were searched with dogs, drones, helicopters, and people on horses. Divers were brought in to drag ponds on Mike's property. Around noon on Tuesday, August 26th, Mike's friend and a deputy found the ATV about a mile away from Mike's house.
The new ATV?
The new ATV.
Okay.
They were checking an area off Happy Valley Loop. It's a road that leads to Bell Branch Road when they made the discovery. Sadly, there was no sign of Mike. The ATV was parked in the woods in an area described as thick. It's thick, Dylan.
So it's in a thicket.
Yeah, a lot of vegetation, and it's near a cabin that's been abandoned. So you can just imagine there's probably a lot of, overgrowth around, and I'm imagining vines and whatever creeping up the side of the cabin.
So it sounds to me like just off the road, someone's drove this ATV as deep as they can into the vegetation.
Right, it's densely
overgrowth.
forested. It's overgrown. This cabin, like I said, is no longer in use. So, and no one's upkeeping this property. So it's just overgrown.
So this is a very strange way to find the ATV, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's like someone was trying to hide it, is what it sounds like to me.
Matt and Andy didn't know why the ATV was in that spot. It wasn't a place their dad usually went. At that moment, the brothers, who had thought their dad was hurt, felt it was much worse. The ATV was found just a few minutes walk from the park, from the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. It looked like someone had jumped off or ditched it. It was hidden kind of up a steep hill. The four-wheeler had been left in high gear with the ignition switch on, but the kill switch was off. The ATV didn't appear to be damaged like it was in a wreck or an accident or anything.
Okay.
So again, it's kind of hidden, parked very strangely on this steep incline, steep hill, embankment, I don't know. And then you've got the kill switch off, but it's in high gear, as if someone has just parked it there and abandoned it.
And maybe didn't quite know what they were doing.
Possibly. That makes sense. Unfortunately, the handlebars didn't leave a clear fingerprint. The evidence probably washed away in the rainstorm. Andy and Matt knew their dad wouldn't leave the switch on. That would have drained the power. If someone is in the woods, especially on foot, they wouldn't want to come back to a dead ATV.
No.
Matt and Andy didn't believe that Mike had stashed the four-wheeler in this location. The next day, 50 searchers combed the area where the four-wheeler was found. They searched for any evidence or clues about Mike's location. Again, it's a very remote, densely vegetated, wooded area. Saying the terrain was difficult was an understatement. Again, this didn't seem like an area where Mike would be. This part of the terrain led into the park, making it just vast, thick forest. There's no trail. And there's really no reason for Mike to be here.
Right.
or to, get off the ATV and go up into the, woods at this particular area.
Okay,
Because there's nothing there.
So there's just absolutely no reason for him to drive there. For one, it sounds like he wouldn't even go there, period, let alone leave his new four-wheeler in this weird spot and just, and then leave it. Yeah, it's nothing about this.
So the battery's dead.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to get it out.
No, nothing about this makes sense.
You're not going to be able to get it home. You're going to have to go get a truck and I mean, it just sounds like no one is going to go through this on purpose.
No, not with their stuff.
There wasn't cell service in this area. They actually had to set up special communications among the searchers between law enforcement and the park rangers. I'm guessing they had to use some satellite phones, that type of thing.
That sounds like it would be their best option back then. One thing I will say for Elon Musk's Starlink is in a situation like this, it's perfect for communication. And oftentimes they donate the use of the Starlink service to people searching in remote areas and things like that. And I think that's a very noble thing to do.
No, that's awesome. Once again, a tracking dog is brought in, but it didn't lead to anything helpful. A group of park volunteers searched a nearby cave that Mike knew about, but they found no sign of him. By the end of the week, the sheriff's office called off their search for Mike. They had no results and felt they just couldn't keep looking for him. It's expensive. They don't have the manpower. They've got other things going on.
Right.
At the beginning of 2009, another search was organized. The sheriff's office had hoped with fallen leaves there would be a clearer view in the woods. And now during this search, a clothing item was found along with some bones. It turns out the clothing item didn't match Mike, what he was known to be wearing, anything that he owned. The bones were found in a fire pit. Now, this isn't great news for Mike's family. They were thinking the worst outcome hearing this news. But the bones were proven to belong to a cow. Moo.
Okay, this poor cow came to a terrible end, sounds
But
like.
that's a sigh of relief. Authorities spent years trying to solve Mike's case. A $15,000 reward was offered for any information leading to Mike's whereabouts. Several theories have circulated over the years on the internet and within the community. The first suggests that Mike was depressed or suicidal. The 2008 crash affected many builders, but Matt and Andy say that they managed better than others. Mike was generally happy and not in any kind of financial turmoil. They had fared, well, despite this, crashing real estate market.
So they weren't about to lose all their land or anything like that?
No.
Now,
I mean, they may have not been rolling in the money, but they made enough to keep the lights on and food on the table.
right. And, I was going to say at some point someone has to think, did he do something to himself? Or did he want to disappear himself? Which doesn't make sense usually to friends and family.
Well, to go to the lengths of borrowing this mower or, transporting this heavy equipment on a trailer across the parkway into the, this mountainous area, I'm sure that was probably a bit of a pain in the ass if you've ever tried to haul like a trailer with equipment on it or pull a boat behind you or a camper.
Right.
Going through the mountains on a curvy road. I mean, I just don't feel like that's something someone's going to do. They're not going to take the time to do that, knowing I'm just going to go here and end it all.
Yeah, but to that, I would say, as a devil's advocate, that sometimes I think people are just on autopilot when they are in this state like this, and it's not always financial. Right. It's not just about finances or money that make people maybe do something like this. And I'm not saying he did, but I think you have to cover all the bases.
I understand.
In a situation. So I think sometimes people are just in autopilot in their life, And then,
Right. I
they
mean,
finally,
depression is, brain chemistry. And
right. And they may be doing something that they always do, that kind of thing. And but it doesn't say, friends and family don't always know when someone's in a state like that, which I think is why people find it so hard to accept that their loved one, if they did something like that, to accept it. Many times, I mean, I think we've all in the true crime world heard stories where all the evidence points to them it being suicide, but the family just can't accept it. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
I mean, it happens a lot, and it kind of
I personally know families who have experienced this type of loss and don't want to accept it.
Right. It had to be someone else.
Right.
It must be murder or
Yes.
something like that. And so that makes it hard. So it doesn't surprise me that at some point that is one of the theories. What are your other theories?
Well, the second theory is that Mike met the wrong person or people in the woods. This makes sense because you never know who might be lurking. Sometimes Dylan lurks in the woods.
Well, I mean, you had we had a serial killer, Gary Hilton.
That was my next line. I was
Yeah.
going to say Gary Hilton, for example.
Yeah, and you're in an area like this where you don't expect it's so serene and peaceful. Maybe you don't think about the possibility of violence, but it's actually a very good place for someone bad like that to operate because it's desolate and there's help's a long ways away. So you typically catch people out by themselves.
Additionally, Blount County has had its share of marijuana growers, Dylan. Over the past decade, there have been arrests related to illegal high-yield growing operations. Often, these illegal growers hide their plants in the park off-trail. There are also illegal moonshiners operating in the area, which seems a little silly in 2026, but I guess that happens. Now, in 2016, Blount County was designated a high-intensity drug trafficking area by the White House. Drug trafficking operations run large-scale illegal marijuana grow sites within U.S. national parks. In California, for instance, this has been a recurring problem in Sequoia and Kings Canyon national parks. These operations include thousands of plants with estimated values in the millions. These growers are extremely dangerous people.
Yeah, and I know it might not have been on national park land, but with my own eyes, I've seen these grows that people grow. When I lived in Cotton County, Tennessee, around Newport, and you were always warned if you came across something like this to just turn and go the other way, because they were known to be booby trapped. If the people caught you in them, you never know how they would react. And so that's a pretty strong theory in my book.
Growing up, I always heard there were three things you could find in Cotton County: weed, liquor, and a cat house.
Yeah, and meow. You do not mean kitty cats.
And the fourth, trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure all that was true back then, especially.
Yeah, I mean, for those who live in East Tennessee or Western North Carolina, Newport had quite a reputation for brothels and cat house, as they called it.
Yeah, they were basically operating out in the open. It was a widely known secret, if you will, to everyone.
Right off 540, you got a lot of truckers, transients.
You can wind from Hot Springs, North Carolina. You can come that way and wind down by the river and into Tennessee.
I bet you can.
And there were more than one spot where they were running brothels. And I was always told that the local authorities they knew about it, and maybe even on the take. But in the modern day, I believe they've cleaned all that up. It's not so done out in the open, at least. And there's definitely been plenty of marijuana grown in those woods because it's a perfect environment for it, and it's a good place to hide it. And if the authorities find the marijuana, they can't prove it's yours. It's not on your land, it's not by your house, and so that's a very common very common move by people with these illegal grows to grow it on national park land.
Yeah, I've heard stories about this my whole life. Also, Dylan, I had this other idea. Ginseng. Or ginseng. So illegal ginseng harvesting, poaching, or sanging, as they call it, is a real and surprisingly intense underground economy in the Appalachian region, especially around the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Wild ginseng can sell for over $800 a pound.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know what the current price, but I knew even back in the day it would go for, $700-800 a pound, which is, my gosh, that's what, marijuana sold for back in the day. You know what I mean?
Older roots are worth more, but they can take up to 10 years to mature. It's often called green gold in Appalachia.
Yeah, and the people who dig, many follow the rules. Most, I would say, probably. But then there's some who don't, and they go harvest from national park lands, or they go steal other people who's been digging. Some people dig for years and get up, many pounds of this dry root and sell it off, because just think about how many products you see ginseng in. It is not, as far as I know, it is not commercially cultivated. It cannot be planted in big fields and grown like a field of corn or tobacco or anything like that.
Or marijuana.
Or marijuana. Now you have marijuana fields. But the sang has to grow wild. It kind of just happens in the perfect spot in nature, and you find these flowering plants with the little red berries that have been growing for years, and then of course the leaves and berries die, but then that's where you get this big huge root from, and it's all pulled together in these large byres, and from people who personally hand dig the stuff up. So it's a very lucrative business.
Well, harvesting in the park is entirely illegal. Rangers even use dyes on the ginseng plants. So, like if a poacher tries to sell it, it will reveal that the plant was taken from the park. Digging even a single root is a federal crime. So as a journalist, I tried to investigate the ginseng economy in Western North Carolina at one point. And let me tell you, it is a tight-lipped community. I couldn't get a single licensed ginseng buyer in the state to speak with me. Not one.
No.
The people are like the mafia.
They really are.
It is insular. If you mention ginseng and you say, I'm a journalist, they hang up on you. They don't want to talk to you. They will shut a door in your face. No.
Yeah, there's some pretty interesting documentaries out there that will kind of, if any of our listeners are more interested in finding out about this. But yeah, basically you have all the people digging, and then you'll have people who pull it together in that community, and then you'll have buyers. I mean, it's no different than a drug network. And then you'll have people above them, and very quickly you can end up in rooms with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of cash on hand for these buys.
There are informal networks of poachers who sell internationally. Organized investigations such as Operation Root Cause targeted ginseng crime rings. And I'm telling y'all, if you happen upon somebody's ginseng grow, it's dangerous. People will kill you.
You better leave it alone.
A Bryson City man was sentenced to 6 months in federal prison for illegal possession of or harvesting of American ginseng from the park in 2015. Billy Joe Hurley had been convicted 4 previous times for the same crime. Poachers are often repeatedly arrested for the offense.
Billy Joe Hurley?
Yep.
He sounds like an old ginseng poacher.
Bryson City, North Carolina, which is in the heart of the Smokies. And the Nantahala National Forest. So as I said, there are many well-documented cases of deadly confrontations between landowners and poachers. I don't know why. I know the drug angle is kind of big in this case. A lot of people, that's their theory, and they kind of go with that. But just kind of having grown up around the edges of the park, I think you got to look at ginseng.
Well, yeah, if you have a group of poachers doing something very illegal, a lot of times these guys are rough and tumble, certainly not afraid to fight, and maybe something even worse. And this doesn't mean every person that digs saying is like this.
No, but I have known, especially when I was much younger, older folks, maybe associated with some of my relatives or whatever, friends of the family, who were definitely rough trade types.
Yeah.
They were some of the only people I know who were into singing.
Oh.
And I wouldn't be surprised at all if they were illegally digging or poaching, because they were definitely, as you said, rough and tumble type of folks.
A lot of people do it just for the love of it. It's a tradition. It's really from like a hunter-gatherer kind of perspective. A lot of people do it for just a few extra bucks here and there, because they know what they're looking
Right.
for. They do it. They follow the rules.
Absolutely.
They just go
There
and-
are a lot of people who do it legally, and it's just a kind of a mountain tradition. It's part of their mountain heritage.
Right, but I've known more than one that was a scary individual.
Yeah.
I'm talking about people who do it for a living, right? That it's a season, a very short season when the plants flower and you can identify them
Yes.
more readily. And so they're going to use regular folks' land to access the park in a non-traditional way, right?
Yep.
Because these guys will pack in. They'll get their their sacks or whatever, and they'll go live in the woods for days on end, living off the land literally, and fill up these sacks. You're not going to drive down the Parkway Road or come walking out a known trailhead, carrying this illegal stuff, because that's a good way to run into a ranger, or anybody you see may know what you're doing and report you. So they're going to access the park through people's lands, through the deep woods, and this would very well could have been a situation like that, considering his land, Mike's land, back, right up, he had a big chunk of land right there on the park. So actually, I think the saying angle kind of carries more weight or makes more sense than illegal drugs.
Yeah, that's kind of what makes more sense to me. And then there are other theories about, caves, underground caves, ravines, that perhaps he fell into one of these and, met his demise. And, there's all these hidden cave systems allegedly under the mountains.
Yeah, I've seen people, some of them, these natural caves, caverns. I've seen there's a real strong theory because you get into the missing 411.
Yeah.
And you get into all these people that go missing out of nowhere or just right around the corner from their friend, never to be seen again in the national parks all over the country. Very strange stories. This actually kind of fits into that same type of story. And some people claim that there's these natural cave systems, and if you overlay where they think the cave systems are, they just happen to be in the national park areas. So, I mean, that's a really weird theory that there's tons of information on if anyone wants to pursue that angle. But I'll let you get all yours. Is that all the theories you've heard?
That is all the theories I've heard so far.
Because you're right on top of one of the very strangest conspiracy theories that goes with the missing 411. And some people say instead of caves, what if?
The multiverse.
These portals.
The Sam Squinch.
These people are accidentally accessing these portals that takes them, who knows, to another dimension, to some other part, who knows where. This could go back to, now this gets really weird really quick. Some people believe that Bigfoot uses these portals to access our dimension, our world, if you will. And that's why that's why they're always in these very remote areas. And they're actually travelers from another dimension. They're not some dumb beast. What do you think about all that?
Well, I mean, it's a nice thought that Mike fell into some multiverse where he's in Scotland in like the 1700s.
Oh, you think he's like Outlander?
And yes, and there's Jamie in a kilt, and maybe Mike's kicking up his heels in a kilt somewhere. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say that that's a ridiculous theory because I'm open to anything. I'm a believer of anything's possible, supernatural. There could be parallel universe, multiverse. There could be stargates. Like, I don't know.
Oh, it most certainly.
I'm not going to rule it out.
It's a very strange, outlandish theory. Let's be honest.
Well, it is.
But the falling into a cave or a natural, whatever hole, if you will, that no one knows about, or even a man-made, hand-dug well from hundreds of years ago, that's possible too. I mean, that's something that could happen. You go into if you're on the edge of a bunch of kudzu, and you fall in this hole that you didn't know was there. And someone comes looking for you, unless they happen to poke their hand or down through that kudzu to the opening, you would never see it. I mean, when kudzu takes over an area, if people have seen it, I'm sure many have. It's almost an impossible place to search the way it grows. So I mean, these things could happen. So I don't know what happened to him, but it's a very strange story.
It's a very strange story. Mike is remembered as a very social person who had a big laugh. Mike had looked forward to being a grandfather. His sons are now fathers, and it's really sad that Mike has grandchildren now who've never known him, especially given that he really wanted to be a grandpa.
Yeah.
You know?
That really is sad.
Andy and Matt think Mike was the victim of foul play. Matt believes he uncovered something that, shouldn't have been happening. They say Mike didn't have enemies and was not confrontational. However, he didn't back down from a fight either. Matt said his father was definitely like a stand your ground type of guy. Matt also pointed to the ATV's location, and he feels that it's a clue that foul play was involved because Mike wouldn't even be in that area or on that road, according to his sons, and would have never left the ATV positioned in such an odd, way.
Well, I think the ATV is the one thing you can't forget about. It certainly seems like no one would leave their equipment like that because it's just going to go dead. It was a new ATV. I don't think he's going to run it off into which, some people don't care. They buy stuff like that to use it, and they don't care about scratches and stuff. But it just seemed a very odd placement. It certainly sounds like someone was trying to hide the ATV, which Mike's not going to do that. So I think that one piece of evidence kind of gives weight to the fact that maybe he ran across someone doing something illegal
yes.
or something bad, or he saw someone doing something, and in turn, they did something to him to keep him quiet.
Right, because he was not dressed properly for a hike into the woods. He had on the cargo shorts. If you're going into thick growth vegetation like that, into dense forest,
right,
there's vines and thorns and all kinds of little stickers and things that poke you. You're going to want to wear pants.
You're going to want pants, thick socks,
yeah,
good
boots,
all that.
Probably want to have a machete or something like that with you, or a hatchet to hack through. He just seemed really ill prepared for an excursion into the woods. I mean, again, it sounds like he planned to, hop on this four-wheeler, ride over to the neighbor's property, maybe assess the growth there, see what it looked like, what he needed to do, and then come back and get the mower.
Right.
Right? So something had to happen, obviously, between his property and the neighbor's property.
Exactly. And that sounds like that's definitely what happened.
But
we don't know what happened.
Right. But it's interesting, too, that they performed these extensive searches, 500 acres of property searched, and doing grid searches, those kind of hand-to-hand, everybody spreads out searches, and did not find hide nor hair of Mike. And that's just very strange to me.
It is.
Especially if it had been an accident or something like that.
Yeah, because they searched for days on end there at first. So if someone had just...
And through different seasons.
And if someone, especially at first, if someone had, let's say, killed Mike, because, for whatever reason, you would have things like buzzards. I mean, you're going to have something that may point you to where he's actually at. And it's just very weird to never see any remains, No signs of him.
Well, and how do you explain if he had an accident that the ATV was parked in a totally...
You can't. Someone put that there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very weird.
Well, hopefully one day the family will have answers and get some closure because it's such a strange case. Like I said, it's a real mountain mystery.
Unfortunately, I don't think there's a very high chance of that because if he did come across someone, they're probably very tight-lipped about it, and there probably weren't a lot of people involved.
Well, you just never know, Dylan.
You don't.
There could be an ex-wife or girlfriend or someone out there who's been wronged that might eventually come out with the truth. People talk. I mean, it can take decades sometimes, but that's how there have been a lot of cold cases solved because someone decided to come forward 20, 30, 40 years later and tell what they know.
Yeah, I know. And some of those people kill me because they knew about this for all this time, and then they wait until that person pisses them off or something, crosses them, and then they tell. Because I would never keep this secret for you, right? If you have this man, this regular...
Well, that's good to know.
Well, no.
I ain't never telling you shit then.
Well, I mean, if you just killed some random person because you're doing some criminal shit, I mean, come on. That's not okay.
It's not?
No.
I guess I can't tell you about my day job.
You didn't do that. Now, if we're out hunting pedophiles and, women beaters and stuff like that, hey, I'm all for it.
You're all for some vigilante
and
justice?
We'll sleep like a baby.
Oh, Dylan, you're silly. Thank you for sitting down with me today to discuss Mike's case.
Thanks for working on your birthday.
You're welcome.
We appreciate it.
I enjoyed it.
And thank you to everyone, all our listeners, all our patrons, our newest patron.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much for your support. And I got nothing else.
You got nothing else?
I'm spent.
Well, we will be back in a few days with the midweek.
I can't wait.
I'm gonna hold you to it, Dylan. Your feet to the fire.
All right.
Keep into a schedule. Bye, Dylan.
Bye.